How's it going, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to find happiness again. So as with some of the other videos, I was kind of looking at what people search or questions that people commonly have, and I saw this topic of how to find happiness again, and I had a couple ideas that I wanted to touch on. So generally, how to find happiness again is going to be the result of some sort of event changing things, right? That's one of these potential paths is like you were with someone you were close to, they're no longer with you for whatever reason, and now you're not feeling happy and you need to readjust. Another potential path is you've just kind of found yourself going through life and then you hit a point where you realize you're not happy and you're not sure how exactly you got there, but things aren't working out in the way that you sort of expected and you're just not feeling that good. So I'm going to go over a couple ways to sort of address both of those things, even though they're very different cases, and hopefully give you some ideas for pieces to sort of look at. So the first thing that I'm going to recommend is looking at what worked in the past, right? Reconnect with past activities. So if you were happy at one point and you're no longer feeling that way, there's a good chance that there are some activities or changes in your lifestyle or pieces that have sort of shifted around that you no longer have. So one of the most obvious things to do is sort of start looking and go, okay, what has worked for you in the past? Now, a lot of times it's a little more complicated than this, right? Things change and things that you used to do may no longer fit. But what you can do is sort of look for the pieces that may have changed, but that you can still recover. So, for example, if you used to feel a lot happier and you also used to spend a lot more time with friends, but now you have a family and you need to spend a lot of time with your kids and your wife or your husband or whatever else, and just kind of working through some of those things, maybe you're never going to get back up to this level of, oh, well, I spent 10 hours with them every other day. But by being more intentional, you can sort of reintroduce some of those things back into your life and see how they land. Because again, if you're needing to find happiness again, that implies that you already had it at some point. So some set of things were working. Now, you're not always going to be able to sort of reconnect with past activities and bring those back in the way that they once were, right? Maybe they just don't fit into your current life, or maybe it's not something you want to participate in anymore, or something like that. So the second piece to sort of look at is exploring new opportunities, right? If you're not happy with what you have currently and what worked for you in the past isn't really available, the only other real option is to start looking for new things. And there are a couple ways to do this, right? It doesn't mean you have to completely change your life and swap everything around, but look for small ways to sort of change your routine or introduce novelty into your life. Now, it could be a big change that you need, but for the most part, exploring and trying new things generally produces some level of happiness. It's also going to be kind of the only way that you can explore and find things that are going to fit these gaps that have sort of been created over time. The third thing I'm going to talk about is focusing on gratitude. Now, a lot of times, again, this sort of lack of happiness is a result of some sort of bigger problem, right? And what happens is we can get so sucked into sort of the negative aspects of that event or series of events that we forget to focus on the things that we are actually appreciative of. Now, I'm not saying when you're in the depths of emotional problems and turmoil that you try to become grateful, because really that's not going to be the solution that works. Gratitude is more of a topping when things are going okay or not that good, right? Not the actual time where you're feeling really, really bad. But there's a lot of research and whatnot to show that if you pepper in gratitude throughout your day, then it's going to give you sort of a general boost. So it's just one of those things that can help you sort of get back to baseline or find a little bit more balance while things don't feel great until you're able to sort of recover some of this other stuff. And the fourth thing I'm going to mention on how to find happiness again is to sort of recognize that not all parts of life are happy all the time, right? Sometimes this sadness is sort of grown and prolonged because we expect or feel like we should be happy all the time. So if something big happens, like again, you lose a partner that you had for a long time or a friend or something, or you have to declare bankruptcy because of some financial mishap or whatever else, not feeling happy is sort of par for the course, right? That's part of the experience. And while you are very likely to find happiness again in the future, there's a lot of research that says even when these big events happen, we generally return to our baselines after, 6 months or so. What you need to do is recognize, that it's part of the process and that it's not always going to be the way that it currently is. Now, that may or may not feel great depending on the position you're currently in. But if it helps a little bit to sort of say, like, okay, you know what? When these big negative events happen, I am allowed to feel unhappy. For a lot of people, that can do a lot of work because they feel like they should be feeling happy and fight some of these other negative emotions when they're part of the human experience and things we need to digest, process, and accept to move forward through them. So hopefully that gives you a couple ideas on how to find happiness again if you've been unable to find it for a while for whatever reason. Let's move on to some reflection questions. 1. What has made you happy in the past? 2. What are you grateful for? 3. What's a new activity or routine you could try? So again, it's not that easy. I've tried to add a couple things that you can sort of think about or places to put your focus. But of course, if you're not feeling happy and you're having trouble finding it, it's not that easy. So keep taking steps, keep putting in effort. You will eventually stumble into something or be able to reconstruct something that fits for you. And just knowing that this is sort of a process or a journey can help a little bit, but I understand that it is difficult. So hopefully that helps a little bit. That's all I've got for this video. As always, if you have any questions, comments, topics you want me to cover, throw them down in the box below. I'll get to them as soon as I can, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please take a second to subscribe, as it really helps out a lot. If you're looking for more content, there's all sorts of information over at howtohappy.com. And if you want something a little bit more condensed and concise, I've also written the book Mindscaping, which is essentially a framework for optimizing happiness. So we'll have the link there as well. And that's all I've got. Thanks again. I'll see you next time.